And and the next presentation is going to be online by a colleague from Turkey, benefits of the implementation of digital technologies in prison and probation service by Fatih Gungor. I would ask just colleagues to make a call.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Fatih. Just a second, we don't see you.
Hello, Pedro. Are you here?
Hi.
Yes, you are on the screen.
Great. I say hello, everyone from Turkey, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I will try to introduce a special project and recent developments in Turkish prison service regarding with digitization of Turkish prison services. And then, first of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Fatih Gungor, and I served 6 years in courthouses in different parts of Turkey. And then I appointed as a reporter judge in General Directorate of Prison and Detention Houses in 2011. And have been working in prison sector for almost 12 years. And then my last position is the Director-General of Turkish Prison Services. So we created a project about digitization of Turkish prisons. We called this project on integration of smart technologies into. If I accomplished it, I want to share my. Could you see my presentation on the screen?
Put it on a screen, on the slideshow.
We see your presentation, but to put it on the screen as a presentation.
I put it on. I put on it, and then.
Yes, but can you start the presentation?
Okay. And then start it.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And technology has been advancing with a very rapid acceleration and many innovations in technology that make our life easier. In recent years, serious breakthroughs have been made, especially in communication technology. Public institutions and organizations also benefiting from these developments in technology. Many public services are digitized thanks to the possibilities provided by technology. Advanced technology has been used in prison as well, but main problem using in technology is that current technologies generally focusing on security issues on in prison settings, but main purpose of prison sentence is reintegrate prisoners into society. In this respect, we try to find a way how can we use technology in prison settings for rehabilitation and reintegration of prisoners, and how we can use technology creating a more humane prison climate. So it is a well-known fact that a healthy communication with the family and outside world plays a key role in the rehabilitation of the prisoners. This communication allows prisoners to spend healthy and quality time in prison where they spend some part of their lives. Maintaining family ties is vital for prisoners to hold on to life after their release. The other thing is that as a natural consequence of prison sentence, people in the outside world who have ties to the prisoners are also largely deprived of communication with their relatives, with their loved ones. Maintaining communication with the family is also extremely important for the protection of vulnerable groups, such as wife and the children of prisoners. Especially for the relatives of the prisoners residing far away from prison, is a great burden to come to the prison and make a regular visit with the prisoners. The other thing is that we, during the COVID-19 pandemics, brought significant limitations and difficulties in the communication of prisoners all over the world. For these reasons, we created a special device and a special software, and we digitized lots of the services in Turkish prison settings. I want to thank the Belgian Prison Service. It was a great presentation because before starting this project, we implied this project. We get this project, basic project ideas from Belgian Prison Service. The Belgian Prison Service is a pioneer on the digitizing some prison services in the European continent and all over the world. So I want to thank again the Belgian Prison Service. So what kind of services we digitized? As you see on the screen, we initiated digitizing some prison services with video conferencing, and then telephone call, daily prisoner count, online petition system, shopping and online payment, e-library, e-doctor, e-letter, and direct communication with the ministry is the basics services that we digitized using some hardware and some software. So I want to say something about the key features of the system. We don't use another the current systems. We created a special software for the system and special hardware, and then we create a closed circuit intranet infrastructure because of the security reasons of the prisons. So another special issue is that we placed these devices in the living space of the convicts. It means prisoners do not need any prison staff to reach this device, so they can directly reach and use some digitized services without any intervention or without any involvement of the prison services. And then we choose a user-friendly design when we consider the literacy of the normal prisoners. And then we have lots of web service integrations. Some of them are National Judicial Network System under the Ministry of Justice, health services run by Ministry of Health, canteen stock software, public library software, and bank integrations. A special payment system has been developed for canteen orders, telephone, and video calls. Within the scope of the bank integration, the system also accesses the prisoner's deposit account. Prisoners can log into the system with their fingerprint or facial biometric data. After biometric login, prisoners can access to the services authorized for them. In addition, the prisoner's rights regarding video conferencing and all other necessary information are automatically displayed within the scope of the system integrations. As I mentioned above, special devices developed within the framework of the project are provided in a special cabin, and these cabins are placed in the living areas of the prisoners. As you see in the picture, this is the basics of the hardware you can see on the screen, the cabin and the computer. The first one, some special measures have been taken to ensure privacy during the use of the devices in cabins, because we place this cabin, the living area of the prisoners. Because of that reason, we have to take some special privacy measures. The first one is soundproof and translucent cabin. The other one is, as you see on the screen, there is a special sensor that automatically closes the system when the door is opened. So when the system, as the system before the system starts, the door has to be closed. If the door is open, the system automatically blocked any transactions. So another special measure for security, there is a special camera and sensor in the cabin that detects how many people are there in the cabin. If there are more than one people inside the cabin, the system automatically blocks and the system doesn't work. And before the system works, the door has to be closed and has to be one person inside the cabin. And then there are hardware and software that enable prisoners to log into the system with the biometric signature method. So they cannot share their password with each other. They have to put their fingers and the system use the biometric signature. And then I want to give some details what kind of prison services that we digitized. The first is the video conferencing. With the implementation of the project, video conferencing opportunity with their relatives will be offered to prisoners for the first time in Turkish prison history. In the previous practice, phones are located outside the cell. Therefore, in order for prisoners to exercise this right, they must be taken by the personnel to the place where the phone is located. For this reason, prisoners used to make phone calls only on a specific day and time of the week. Before the project, prisoners have the right to talk on the phone for 10 minutes a week and just with one relative. Within the scope of the project, the prisoner will be able to enjoy these rights without the assistance of personnel, because the device will be installed in the prisoner's room. In this way, prisoners will be able to exercise their rights more flexibly and call their relatives every day of the week, weekends or weekdays when their families and children are at home. After some legislative change within the scope of the project, this time was increased from 10 minutes to 30 minutes. Therefore, prisoners may have the right of video conferencing for 60 minutes in a week. Prisoners will be able to use their video and telephone call rights by dividing into 6 parts within a week, and they may call 6 different relatives. Juveniles and mothers can enjoy these rights 2 times more than other prisoners. So juveniles can benefit video conferencing 2 hours in a week. Circuit infrastructure has been established for video call, and a special application has been developed. These points are extremely important for the sustainability of the project, security and privacy of the calls. Prisoners may use the right of telephone conversation with video calls or voice calls depending on their will. The other digitized service is daily prisoner count. In accordance with in our prisons, prisoners' counts are made at least twice a day. Before the project, for counting prisoners, many personnel enter the cell are counted manually. The count is completed in a single prisoners by multimedia device to be installed in the cell. The other digitized service is shopping and online payment. In the previous practice, prisoners place a canteen order with a petition, and this petition collected by the staff. The prisoner's money is in the institution's account, and these accounts were managed by prison staff manually. With the project, prisoners will be able to see the materials and their prices sold in the canteen, thanks to the multimedia device installed in their room. Prisoners will be able to order items from canteen through the system and make them payments online using biometric methods. In this way, prisoners will be able to manage their own accounts, and there will be no need for a special unit in the institution. Thanks to this application, prisoners will be able to shop in canteens in a more flexible way, and a significant amount of workforce will be saved. Analysis opportunity for prison security through canteen order also introduced using this system. Another application, online petition. With another application designed within the scope of the project, the prisoners will be able to write and send their petitions more quickly and securely, and follow up their petitions by using biometric signature without leaving their room. Petition procedures run by personnel will be carried out electronically. Another, e-library. In the previous practice, prisoners request books by filling a form physically and gives these forms to the personnel. One of the innovative applications in the project is that prisoners can see the list of books in the libraries, both inside or outside the prison, and make requests online via the device in their room. Another application is e-doctor or telemedicine. Within the e-doctor application, e-doctor application, it is aimed to create a wide infrastructure for telemedicine. With the implementation of the project, prisoners will be prevented from being referred to wrong clinics that are not suitable for their illness, and control examinations during the treatment process will be carried out without the need for hospital referral. Psychiatry examinations can also be done through the system. With the e-doctor application, it is aimed to eliminate the complaints of prisoners about access to healthcare, to access a fast and effective treatment, and to reduce the high cost of hospital referrals. The practice will not eliminate face-to-face examination. It will be used support mechanism of the healthcare services. Another application is email. Prisoners have a right to send and secure email using this system after the controlled by the prison staff. And we think that this application is very environmentally friendly application. The other application is that direct communication with ministry. We started to pilot this implementation. Prisoners can call directly General Directorate of Prison and Detention Houses. We are establishing a special unit for it. It's a complaint mechanism. They can directly communicate, and they can convey their messages, or they can convey their compliance from prison to the Director-General directly. So I want to say something about the benefits of the project. And then I classified three parts of benefits of the project. The first one is in terms of the prisons. as an institution. So thanks to the project, at least 30% of personnel will be saved, and these personnel will be employed more effectively for security, rehabilitation, and other meaningful activities. Today, in Turkish prisons, we have approximately 80,000 prison staff, and 30% of personal saving means we will save 25,000 personnel, and huge amount of personnel. So in addition, with the implementation of the project, the workload in prison will decrease, dynamic security will increase, all work and transaction will be carried out faster, more effective and transparent manner. The system also creates an infrastructure for new types of smart technologies in prisons. So another benefits of the project, we do not use any public resources for the implementation of the project. We make a collaboration with the Turkish telecom company, and all the costs covered by Turkish telecom company, and we didn't use any public resource to realize the project. So an environmentally friendly system has been developed. Applications such as e-letter, online petition, and online shopping save more than 6,000 papers in just 1 week compared to the previous system in each prison. When we consider 400 prisons in all over the Turkey, it's we are saving huge amount of papers, and it's very environmentally friendly project. So the other benefits of the project for prisoners. The project aims to strengthen the family relations of prisoners, increase their willingness to abide the rules of the institution, and contribute to the rehabilitation and reintegration process. Communication with the family contributes to the rehabilitation of prisoners. It is considered that the project will make a significant contribution to the psychological development and social reintegration of prisoners who communicate with their families visually and more frequent. Transparency in institutional practices and faster access to prison service is ensured. In addition, it is expected that decrease of human rights violation allegations after the project. It is considered that the project will undertake a very vital function in terms of protecting prisoners' communication with their families, especially during COVID-19 pandemic, which make visits to prisons very difficult. And another benefits of the project for relatives of the prisoners. The project will also provide many benefits for the relatives of the prisoners. With the application, vulnerable groups, children, students, employees, pregnant, disabled, etc., will be able to visit their relatives without coming to the institution. Young children of prisoners will also be able to see their parents without coming to the prison. In this occasion, children will be prevented from being traumatized in the prison environment. Video conferencing opportunity will be very crucial for the relatives who resides different city or country where the prison is located. These are the main benefits of the project. In this phase of my presentation, I want to say something about the current phase of the project. In line with the experiences gained from the pilot implementation, the system was established 154 institutions throughout the country. And then 9,000 devices and cabins were installed. Until now, approximately 353 prisoners, 353,000 prisoners have benefited from the system, and 457,000 relatives of the prisoners have used video conferencing system. Until now, approximately, I'm talking about approximately 2 years, 1.5 years, when we started the project, over 80 million calls have been made through the system until today. And last but not least, I want to say something about the financial infrastructure of the project. As I mentioned before, the approximate cost of the project is $50 million, and no public resource were used to cover the project expenses. The project was implemented with the financial method of public-private partnership, and all cost was covered by Turkish telecom company. And then hello, Pedro?
Yes, we hear you.
I summarized the project, and it was awarded, as you know, this project was awarded in ICPA Annual Conference in Orlando as one of the best practice in the world in 2022 in Orlando ICPA Annual Conference. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any question, please do not hesitate. I will try to reply any questions.
Thank you, Fatih.
If you see this device, it is the second phase of the project, and we are piloting in these Turkish settings, and we are trying to make individual device for it's a special tablet. These applications into the tablet, and we put another thing. For example, books, some education activities, music, film, television, and as a second phase of the project, we will make individual devices for prisoners, but it is now piloting phase of the project.
Thank you. And we can now, after this very interesting presentation, and I would like to call our colleague from Portugal, so Luís, to come up. He will present us challenges on the implementation of telemedicine and of the implementation of the in-cell communication technologies in Portugal. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to speak about the challenges on the implementation of telemedicine and the implementation of in-cell communication technologies. First of all, I'm going to show a brief overview of the prison and probation services. We divided this slide in 4 different steps. Prison context, we have 49 prisons, and at the moment we have 12,597 inmates. For the probation context, we have 48 probation teams all over the country, and we have now 29,304 measures. For the electronic monitoring context, we have all over the country 13 electronic monitoring teams, and at the moment we have 2,769 people with electronic monitoring devices. And the last, juvenile justice, we have 6 educational centers, and at the moment we have 132 young offenders. So, implementation of in-cell communication technologies. Back to 2014, we started to work with the Portuguese platform provided by Portuguese telecom service provider. And our contact list for our emails, it is divided by 3 different groups. Group A, family and friends. Group B, lawyers. Group C, humanitarian calls. And the maximum duration of for the phone calls, it was on that time, 5 minutes, only 5 minutes. 5 minutes for Group A, Group B, and unlimited minutes for Group C. Because on Group C, we have a special list approved by General Director with 21 hotlines for emails. For the emails, can use it to, to ask some help. If they are dealing with some drug issues, or they want to quit smoking, or they want, some support on mental health issues, they can make these phone calls for free and ask for help. The national tariffs, 7 cents for mobile and fixed telephone calls, and ITS, image telephone system, works between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. And we have on total 601 telephones, and most of them are installed in common areas, in wings, in yards, in school areas. And of course, all these settings were made according to the Portuguese legal framework. So in 2020, we decided to make 2 pilots with 2 different partners and with 2 different technologies. GSM technology with Altis. Altis, it is a Portuguese telecom service provider. And voice over IP technology provided by Telio. And the national tariffs were the same, but we make an improvement in the time that emails have available to make phone calls. So for Group A and Group B, we give them with 60 minutes per day. So that means they have 60 minutes for Group A, family and friends, 60 minutes for Group B, so for lawyers. In total, they have 120 minutes. And this ITS system works between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. Well, after these pilots, the DGRSP made a report and also made some recommendations to the Minister of Justice, especially about the duration of the phone calls. As you saw, 5 minutes, it was ridiculous, 5 minutes per day. So we made some recommendations about it. And in September of 2022, which changed the legal framework called duration for Portuguese prison services and for the ITS. So nowadays we have a minimum of 15 minutes in Group A and 15 minutes for Group B. But this change legislation gave us the power to DG can fix the maximal duration of the phone calls. For instance, for Christmas season, and we did it in the past, if the general director wants to increase more time to the phone calls, he has this power. And this was a very big change in our system. So, through 2 proof of concepts done, the legislation has changed. The technical requirements for the new ITS, it is done. So I guess we are ready to launch the new tender for the next years, in the next future. Challenges, risks, concerns during the tender process. It is, these are some personal issues that, personal concerns that I have for this process. Installation process can interfere with prison daily routines, and we may have some security issues. That's really a personal concern. And the second one, related to the first one, delays in the installation process can ruin the implementation plan. I had the chance yesterday to speak a little bit about it with Simon. And thank you, Simon, for our talk from yesterday. It was really, really helpful. And I'm not going to discuss it more. We can, discuss it later in the panel discussion. Telemedicine. So telemedicine, we were trying for several years to invent something new and install it and implement it in the system. But during the pandemic, the Ministry of Health has developed a new telemedicine system. So we thought, okay, they have it, so why cannot use it? And in December of 2021, we made a MOU between Ministry of Justice and Ministry of Health to use this new technology. In March 2022, we started the training process. 113 health personnel were trained on the telemedicine system. So we bring the technology into the prisons, and our healthcare personnel were able to work with telemedicine, with prisons, with hospitals, public hospitals, and also some small healthcare centers. So in April 2022, we started with the medical appointments between the prisons and public hospitals. And I have some numbers here. We are kind of new on this process. So last year, we did 17 medical appointments. And in 2023, we already have 25 medical appointments made by telemedicine system. The major problem on this process, it is really a big problem for me. How can we convince staff from healthcare national system to use the telemedicine? It is very, very difficult to convince, healthcare personnel to use it. They want to, see the patient face to face. They don't want to do it by telemedicine, and it is, the most big problem that we have during the implementation phase of this process. So I think I'm in time. Thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you, Luís. And we still have time for our last presentation in this block. It's by Germany, from Anna Klockmeier. It's about the main challenges in digitalization in prisons. Oh, and Andrea. Okay. Anna and Andrea.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Anna Klockmeier. I'm from the Ministry of Bremen, Justice and Constitution. And I was freshly appointed the digitization manager for the Bremen Prison and Probation Services. And I started basically 3 weeks ago, so it's all quite new. But yeah, we're going to explain where we are right now.
So it is a little bit of a challenge for us to come to you guys with our small project from Bremen, which is literally the smallest of the federal states in the whole of Germany. And we are really very early in our digitalization process. So thanks a lot to everybody who's presented so far. But what you're going to see now has nothing on that level to share. But I think some of the challenges are common to all of us. So hopefully we can draw out some things that are similar in our journeys nonetheless. So I will start with a very quick overview of Bremen Prison. For those of you who haven't been there, I know a lot of you have been for study visits or passed through on your way. We've been doing this European project work for 20 years, so it's a familiar sight to a lot of you. The lists here are actually selected to show you the common challenges that we've had in our infrastructure for digitalization and what we are trying to look at as we think about the tender process and about supporting our staff to implement digital technologies. It's an old building, and because of the renovation work, we have now a new container house, which has a new set of infrastructure which is potentially more useful for the projects that we're doing. We have 3 sites in Bremen Prison, and one of them, both this big building, the set of buildings that you can see here is in the center of Bremen, and then there's a smaller prison type institution up on the coast in Bremerhaven. There's currently around 370 staff and 650 inmates, up to 8 years, staying up to 8 years. So we have the whole remit of types of prisoners: juveniles, women, and men. Open detention. We have a therapeutic community in the center of the prison. We really have everything in one place, and thus the measures that we use to introduce digitalization have to be tempered according to what kind of prisoners are in each area, each block, or even each wing sometimes. The women's correctional prison on this site as well, and they're smaller, as you see. And it's also really important from our point of view to note that we include in the prison at least 2 or 3 independent providers of rehabilitation support. That's 6 weeks before release through the gate care, and also other types of initiatives as they go through their sentence. And these people are key carrying staff, but not employed by the Bremen Prison Service. So people have mentioned from time to time about interfacing with other providers in their criminal justice systems. This is really important for us to note as well. The people who are on the wings are not necessarily Bremen prison staff. Okay, I think we're going. It was a little. I thought I could use my computer and we might be able to get a little bit of interaction going on your thoughts, but I don't think that I can display your results and have Fatih and this at the same time. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to skip through the slower things, although it would have been wonderful to hear from you about the challenges. Or what do you think? I think it's a little bit too much. Next time. So, you want to do the challenge, or shall I do the challenge?
So, basically, one of the biggest problem is, as Rhianon already said, is the infrastructure. So we have a very, very old building, and we do not have the resources to bring them all up to date. So Bremen is not only the smallest federal county in our federal state in Germany, it's also the poorest one. And so we are renovating right now house 1 and 2, but still we cannot bring it to the most up-to-date state. The other problem, considering digitization processes, that we do already have existing IT software services that are in use, and these are not Bremen-based. So we need to contact the producer of the software to create a link to whatever new software we might want to install. Also, the security data privacy is quite important in Germany and especially in Bremen. So you have to recheck twice and thrice to before you implement a new technology. The other part is that the development of the e-file, of the prisoner's electronic file, is something that has to be decided on a nationwide level. By 2026, we are all obliged to use the electronic file for the prisoner. As of now, I haven't heard of a start yet, so we all know time flies. I'm quite nervous about that one, but yeah, we'll see what comes out of that one. The other problem we are facing right now is the range of hardware and the cost of the hardware that is available, because Bremen, as the small state, cannot afford a make solution. So we will have to go with a buy solution, at least where we are now. And there's a discussion going on right now on what we should do, and we're in the process of finding out. Oh, that's you.
Yeah. We're tag teaming again. Is this keeping your interest? We already knew before we were given the idea to run DIGICOR that we needed to support our staff before any implementation with some digital training. There's no digital skills taught in our basic training at all, and there isn't so far any basis for the curriculum because we have nothing to implement. So we were really starting from scratch, which is why the plug and play modules for DIGICOR are going to be very useful for us now and as we move along the digital journey. And it's tricky for us to anticipate what kind of training needs they're going to have because they're all at very different levels of basic digital literacy, and they will also have different roles and functions within the system. We've heard from Belgium, so thank you, Belgium. Again, it's another inspiration, a country that's been inspired by you, that we're going to need some sort of help desk support, a mentor program to run alongside the training. It won't be just once and done, and we take that on board, absolutely. We have already encountered significant digital resistance. We know that people don't want to be replaced by what they see as a machine process or become redundant. We need to talk to the unions and make sure that everybody's on board with every step of the process, and to show that it enhances what they're doing and not replaces. And we are really conscious of the different age range within our prison. I'm trying not to say this too specifically, but it is sometimes harder for different groups to grab hold of why digitization is important, as well as get the basic skills to use the tools that they need in the prison. So we appreciate that we need to know what the baseline of digital skills is. Yes, I think we've always done it this way. Is something that's pretty regularly heard. So why would we need to change it? And we're not doing that. You want to do the change management? No, yeah, okay. I will carry on. We, from the ministry's point of view, in implementing the first phase of the digital rollouts, we have been working on, Anna's been working on developing what it is that we want to do in the medium and short term, and getting everybody on board to agree what that vision is and where digitalization will bring us. So it's really, that's the principle which is supporting how we buy in the tech. And we are trying not to focus too much on what it is that we're bringing in, like what tablet it is or what kiosk it is or what system it is, more on what change that will bring to the prison, to the staff, and to the prisoners themselves. We are, as I said, working with unions, and we are really hoping that by persuading these different groups of stakeholders that somehow the money will follow these decisions and the financing that's required for such an infrastructure change will be easier to come by. Yeah, it is opening the door to the concerns of staff. So every step we take, we hope to build in feedback mechanisms so that when people have queries or when there are problems, they can instantly report back into focus groups or feedback groups instead of getting to the end of a process and then complaining that everything doesn't work.
Okay, I'm going to take over this one. Talking about developing a digitization strategy, you need to think of the stakeholder management. And I think this is the very first step at the very beginning, because you need the stakeholders to develop the strategy. It's not just me in my office at my desk thinking of beautiful things. It's also identifying who's in or who's involved in the process. Identify them as early as possible and get them involved. Because in the end, you need a vision that is shared by everyone. So the more people you have on your side, the more easier it might be instead of fighting against resistance. In our case, it would be the local government, so the Ministry of Bremen Justice and Constitution. Also, the government administration, so it's not just the political level, but also the administration, as well as the prison governor, and the department leaders and the staff in general. And it's quite important, I just learned, always involve the unions, because you might be on a same level with all the other stakeholders, but then there's a union saying, no, this doesn't work like that. If you haven't by now agree on a coordinator, that wasn't me, agree on a coordinator of the upcoming process, because someone has to keep track of the stakeholder management. This won't happen on its own. You need someone designated with a clear task of involving everyone at certain steps. If you have, while creating a strategy or a vision, and there will or there might be a conflict of interest. So one says, I want to have tablets in prison. Someone else says, no, I want mobile phones. Someone else says, I don't want anything in cell. I just want to have it on the wing. So this is fine, because this belongs to developing a strategy to find out together which is the most suitable way to digitize. The most important thing is, if you have different strategies or different approaches to a strategy, allocate clear tasks to the people. It's, for instance, within the stakeholder management, make sure it's about market exploration right now, and that we all come together again and share the experiences, because everyone needs to be involved, because otherwise you cannot make a shared decision with everyone. Another quite difficult thing is that you need to plan enough time. So schedule enough time for the planning process, especially when you have to get your stakeholders on board first. And some of them might be resistant. This might happen. And especially if you have a conflict of interest, if you have 2 or 3 or even more different approaches, take your time to plan well. Because otherwise, it might end or result in financial losses, because you say, okay, let's decide on the tablet solution, and it's not supported by everyone. It's going to fail because, I don't know, maybe the staff even refuses to work with the tablets. Then you have a loss, and especially a loss in trust concerning upcoming projects. So talking about the wider strategy, coming to a specific project within this strategy. So imagine you've been sitting together and you've had lots of talking, and you decided on, I don't know, let's say, let's implement a new software. You've agreed on that one, and then of course you still have to do stakeholder management, and I think on an even more basic level than before. And I tried to collect some of the sentences I've encountered in the past few weeks, and we never knew, part one. If you do not identify and involve all the stakeholders involved for the specific project, you have to expect that some of the groups involved in the project refuse to work with you because they never knew, they haven't been involved, and it's quite a normal thing to do if you are not involved and expected to do something which is against your own vision, that you won't keep or you won't be part of the team. So the first thing is to get your stakeholders and explain the reasons why you're doing the strategies you've decided on the first step. Try to explain to them the benefits, but also, and this is very important, also the disadvantages that might come within the new project, because otherwise, you as Rhianon said, you need to create room for feedback, and if you want to get all the people on board, they have to have the room to talk about the negative feelings or expectations they have. The other one is from former IT projects I've led. Let's agree to not disagree. Within your core project team, you need to establish compliance. I think it's vital to a successful project because you have to agree on binding terms of communication. Because misunderstandings happen, and this might put the project in danger. So beforehand, try to agree on a certain way of communication. Who communicates to whom in what kind of way, and also make clear about your expectations. If you have to know yourself a bit for that and invite your core project to do the same, to say, if I get an email, I usually reply within 3 weeks. Others say, if I get an email or send an email, I expect someone to answer by tomorrow. So you have to agree on the expectations you're working on and agree on a certain level. This comes with expect a running system. Because the parties involved in the implementation processes will not necessarily change their working processes they already have. So if you have a team, let's say the electrician needs 3 weeks to do the cabling before IT could start putting on the software, you need to plan on 3 weeks' time or whatever time it takes. Because the electricians, they're not sitting around waiting for your project to start. They usually do have other things to do. So plan ahead and expect that even though it is just a cable, please do it right now. No, please plan in advance so that you can avoid time losses. We have the never knew part 2, is that you, as a coordinator, you have to make sure to forward the information when indicated to everyone. If you don't do that, do not expect others, because you are, as the coordinator or the designated coordinator you have, is responsible for sharing the information. As soon as the electricians are done with the cabling, it's not their job to tell the IT staff that they are done. It's the job of the one who coordinates the whole project. So you could also plan on a general information strategy, because especially if you're working on a small project within a smaller frame, like a pilot, others are interested. And now taking it into the reality, this all sounds very good. We didn't do it. I was only installed, I was late to the party. I just joined in beginning of April. And the project within, or pilot within the DIGICOR project, to install 3 kiosks and get very first baby steps on how to use systems like a kiosk. It started before I was there, and unfortunately Lars can't be here today because he could share the prison side of what was planned in the ministry and what basically arrived in prison. So there was a huge difference. And this is something you should plan, because right now we are trying to implement these kiosks. I was supposed to talk about the kiosks today. They're not even installed yet. So there were different kind of problems that we were facing. Not all of them were self-made. We had a tender going on in Bremen until you pulled out of the project and then came back in. And all the time, the prison staff was waiting for the kiosks to arrive, and they are still waiting, and now they are losing their interest. So it's vital to share information as early as possible. So before you start to plan a project, no matter how big or small it is, try to appoint a coordinator before you do that to keep all the stakeholders on track.
Yeah, we're done. I believe we're done. We've done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's for you, Anna. The chair.
Fatih is also.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And we hear now the fourth presentation of this panel discussion. So I will start the discussion, and as we are short with the time, I will give the first questions to the audience. Anyone from the audience have any questions for the presenters? No? Okay.
I have several questions.
Okay. I have one.
And so I was trying to put Fatih back on. Can I have some help to put Fatih back on the screen? Okay.
I have also some questions, but
Since I'm here, I'll use this microphone. Is that okay?
That's fair.
So, I had a question to Patrick, because he mentioned the challenges of the different projects in terms of change management. It was a main. It's quite a complex thing, you know, the term just change management. But you mentioned it, and some of your questions were related to change management, I understood. So I would like to understand, you know, given your prior experience, what would be your recommendations? But the other question was also regarding, you mentioned GDPR, and that is the general GDPR, that is GDPR, or the directive for law enforcement agencies as well. There is some confusion sometimes inside the countries of, you know, what should be applied. So if you could just provide some input of that, that would be great. Then to Fatih. So I knew the project, and it has been, as he said, it has been awarded as well in Orlando at the ICPA conference. I think that the change management issues were a bit different due to the culture and the way prisons are managed also in Turkey. But if you could also say something about how the staff reacted to the implementation of technology, I think that would really be important. Thank you. Those are my two questions.
Okay. Hello. I can reply your question, Pedro.
Go on,
Could
Fatih.
you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay.
You can answer.
Actually, the main challenging part of the project is to changing the minds. It's any level. It's starting from frontline staff, from prison management, prison governors, or high-level bureaucrats. The changing the minds and the reaction against the new technology is the most challenging part, because when we talked about the prison, the security is the first. So any kind of new development, especially in technological areas or digitization, sometimes can be seen a risk for prison security. So most of the people, especially in frontline staff, see the new development in technology as a risk. But after the implementation and when they see some benefit from the project, because this technology facilitated their daily chores, daily work in prison settings. So after some time, they get accustomed to project, and they saw much more benefit when the side effect of the project. And then in the first phase of the project, they are very suspicious and against the project idea. But now, after 1.5 year implementation, they are very eager and volunteer about the project and very satisfied about the project implementation. For example, sometimes some local governors or public prosecutors called me and say that we have 3 facilities, 3 prisons in one province, for example. We installed the system, 2 of them, and we haven't installed yet one of them. And they called me and said that please install the 3rd one, because there are much more demand from prisoners and also prison staff. So after some time and some implementation, and when they see some benefit from the project, they are very satisfied and volunteer about the implementation of the project.
Thank you. And Patrick, can you give us
Yeah,
reply?
I will give a short reply on both questions, Pedro. But first of all, I want to congratulate Fatih as well. When you say that you're impressed with what we did, I can only say that I'm very impressed what Turkey did last couple of years. It was quite impressive to see where you are right now. So around change management, Pedro, I think reaching out towards your personnel has to go is a very important thing. We tackle that right now. What also is very important, and it's often combined with a lack of staff, and that's a problem that we encounter in Belgium. Sometimes that we don't have enough people working together with the providers. To provide also enough insights to the sponsors to be proactive, and this might be a problem that might occur. This might be a problem that might occur. So what have we done? Because we're suffering with that lack of staff, we also work with external consultants to take that work out of our hands, and that represents us towards these providers to make the development and the operationalization a success. So I think that's an important one. Lessons learned is that we, with the new programs, much more proactive than that we were in the past with several others. What the GDPR means in our country, that's now we have the data protection officers, so it all includes like all the personal data and the privacy legislation of a person. Makes now legislation really a legal obligation to write out every trail of information that you transfer from one partner to the other and for what means, and that was something that's quite an intense and difficult process sometimes to deliver.
I was hoping to have one question for Luís, just quick one, related to the pilot project he mentioned about GSM telephony for prisoners. I'm wondering how it works and what kind of results do you have after your pilot about the GSM?
Yes, we had some issues about GSM technology, and we did only 3 prisons, I think. Yeah, 3 prisons, not so many prisoners or inmates benefit of that technology, and we had some tricky issues and technical issues, to get the signal into the phone, and the quality of the phone call was not, very good. So, and You know, the balance, it was okay, but I think it's not the solution that we're going to use on the future.
So the decision is that you are not going to use GSM in the future.
I didn't want to say that, but okay.
It's my question because it's good to know for all of us. It's my conclusion. Oh, apologize. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And before we conclude this panel, just want to make one comment about Anna's presentation. And you mentioned that you have an old building, and it's always, I would say, challenging to implement new technologies in old buildings. And I like your approach that you first start with organizational changes, that you started to prepare your staff members, that you prepare in unions, which are usually a big problem with them. So I support that. Thank you. Is there any more questions from the audience, or we can conclude this panel discussion because we are quite out of time by now? No? Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all speakers. And we have a short coffee break now.